Hello, I'm Annette Shepherd and I'd like to tell you all about Lancashire's Best Start in Life commitment. Please watch this short video to find out what it's all about. In 2025, the Department for Education published a document giving every child the best start in life. You can read this by searching for it freely online. We're fully committed in Lancashire to outlining our own plan for change in line with this Department for Education plan to make sure that every child has got the best start in life. And we want that for every single child in Lancashire. We want to work together with you to help them aspire, achieve and shine. And we want to help you make sure that every child in Lancashire attends a world-class early years setting. The Department for Education's plan for change through the Best Start in Life strategy is all about redressing the balance. We know that some children start school in reception with less experiences, less opportunities than some of their peers, and that means that they're starting from a point of disadvantage. In Lancashire in 2025, 64% of our children in reception classes achieved a good level of development. We've been given a target by the Department for Education to increase this to 73.8% by June 2028. This is an ambitious target, but it's one that we're really committed to trying to achieve so that more of our children in Lancashire do have that best start in life. The target that we particularly like to work on though and improve is for those children who are living in social deprivation. So in June 2025, 45.9% of children within Lancashire achieved that good level of development. So that is less than half of our children in reception classes who are ready to start the national curriculum in Year 1. We've been given again the target by the Department for Education to increase that by 10% to 56.2% in 2028. And again, we are really committed to making a difference to those children who need our help and support the most. So what do we mean when we talk about gaps in learning? You can see here on the curve graph on the diagram where average children make progress over time. And you can see from that red line that children will steadily make progress and continue to improve steadily over time following that red line. However, those children who haven't had the same experiences and begin to fall behind, usually through our prime areas of learning, our speech, communication, listening and attention, and our personal, social and emotional development, means that those gaps start to emerge from a very young age. And we can see from the black line there that those children will continue to make progress over time, but they are on a different trajectory. And you can see how over time that gap gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So when our children are very young in our early years settings, we've got the smallest gap that they're ever going to have in their educational life. So we have got a golden opportunity to close that gap for our children and really make sure that they get back onto that red line and make progress as quickly as possible. We know in Lancashire that for some children, by the time they reach the end of their reception year in school, they're already 5.9 months behind some of their peers. As we've seen on the slide before, that trajectory grows, that gap grows, and by the end of Key Stage 2, when children are leaving Year 6, that gap has grown to nearly a year. And by the time the children leave school at 16 and finish their GCSEs, that gap has grown even wider to nearly 2 years. So we really do have a golden opportunity to make a difference for our youngest children by closing that gap as quickly as we possibly can. So what can you do in your early years settings? Well, we know that to close the gap, the things that make the biggest difference to children's outcomes are the quality of adult-child interaction, how you talk and sustain that shared thinking with questioning, supporting children's thinking skills as you're chatting away to them really does make a big difference. We know that practitioners' understanding of the curriculum, those 7 areas of learning and development, those steps and sequenced progression really do make a difference so that children are being supported to move on and continue to learn and develop well. So that strong knowledge of child development really does make a difference for our children. We know in terms of adult skills in helping children to resolve conflicts is a big indicator in children's future success. So being able to manage their feelings, make friends and thrive in those social situations really does stand them in good stead moving forwards into the rest of their life. And one of the biggest indicators and one of the things that makes the biggest difference to children's learning and development is how we support parents to help children learn at home. So that chat, play, read agenda is really, really important so that children are learning at home and in the setting as well. In a nutshell then, to really help all our children to thrive and to get that best start in life, in our settings we need to focus on those prime areas of learning, making sure that we've got the basics right so that when our children start reception, they are primed to learn. They're ready for that next stage of their education. We can help them too by building really healthy routines for them to provide structure and routine to their day. And this will help them really flourish and get the most out of their educational experiences. So what do we want you to do? Well, in your setting, we really want you to pledge to commit to our Best Start in Life Charter, which you can find on our website. Download the certificate and proudly display that within your setting and share the top tip cards which will be coming out every few weeks with all of your team and with your families so that you can work together in the home and in the setting on making sure that those foundations are really strongly in place for our children to make sure that those gaps don't emerge and that if they do, we close them as quickly as possible. We want you to really use your assessments, such as your welcome screenings and your 2-year-old progress checks, to identify any delays that are emerging in children's learning quickly so that we can close those gaps and make sure that we're intervening early to get children back on course. Thank you for your commitment to giving all of our children the best start in life. You're doing an amazing job and every single thing that you do is going to make a difference to children's outcomes.